dear viewers and listeners of the podcast Got in the Motion. With me, the main host, Yavor Ivanov, and with my favorite co-host, Kubrat Ivanov, more known as Kubi.
Hello everyone, and welcome to today's episode, where we will be covering the topic of careerism. How are you today, Yavor?
I'm good, and I'm glad that you are back to our podcasts. Unfortunately, recently we are very busy, and we apologize to our viewers and listeners that we haven't posted any new episodes, but we try to catch up. So I have the honor to ask you the first question, Kubi. How do you understand careerism? What is careerism for you?
Well, the general definition of careerism is trying to get promoted as fast as possible so that you can make as much money as quick as possible. And I think we'll stick by that definition today because I don't have another interpretation of sort that we can discuss. But I think it's very open-ended, as it's tied in with morality, as it's tied in with personal goals, and some people don't seek the power, the money, nor the fame. So I think we'll stick with the traditional definition, we'll say.
Okay. Well, the second question as well I have the honor to ask you, how important in your age, for you now, is the careerism, and how you aim it, if you like?
I'd say now at this age, obviously, I'm an adolescent. Obviously, you work for money, you want money, so that, you know, when you're going out or you're saving up for something, and now especially with planning on getting my license soon enough, the car, the fuel, the everything, you're trying to work for as much money as possible. And I don't think that's going to change, if I'm completely honest, personally, because I want to be a barrister, and it's not for the money. I really like the career, the profession, but I like the saying, it's better to cry in a Mercedes than on a bike. And I feel like one of the major incentives towards working wouldn't be towards, you know, being an idealist, we'll say, but rather developing my own career, establishing my own strengths, and yes, in return, receiving a nice monetary compensation for it. But right now, I'm obviously focused on school, but after school, when you graduate with a degree, you want to go into a nice field, working hard, because they're tied in together. You put so much effort into studying, getting into that university, that course, so that in the future you can obtain that nice job, that position. So it's all kind of tied in together. Now, if you're studying as a historian, well, there isn't much money in history, but you know what you're getting into. So you're still putting in the efforts, maybe develop yourself as a professor or, even teacher. But I feel like when you're studying for law or finance or commerce, you kind of know what one of the major incentives are.
We will touch about teaching and money there. I agree in certain extent, but I disagree in another level of your conclusions in your point. That's interesting. He seems to be a very ambitious and young man who knows what he wants, which is very important.
Yeah, hopefully it stays that way. But now, throughout your lifetime, would you have been more of a careerist or an idealist?
You know, that's my thought, and we were talking about it a few days ago. That I told you that the world is divided in two types of people, generally speaking, careerists and idealists.
Yeah.
I definitely, I'm of this part of the world, the group of the idealists.
Yeah.
And,
okay.
If I wasn't, I probably wasn't going to study history to be a teacher, because we know in teaching is not a lot of money.
Yeah.
If I really was aiming money, fame, power, I would not touch for study for the teacher. When you aim all these things, because we will discuss later that careerism as well is linked with power, money, prestige, even if you like fame, because if you're a politician or a famous businessman, you can become famous.
You have that
being
authority.
a successful career, and as well give you power over people. Definitely I'm idealist, and I study humanitarian subjects, classics. I studied already and teaching classics now and history. They're subject that they're humanist subject,
Yeah.
so there is not much money in it.
No, yeah.
I'm not complaining. I'm happy what I receive, but definitely I will be idealist and careerist.
And that's what I was referring towards earlier on, that if you're studying business, you kind of know what you're going into. If you're studying history, unless you want to become a professor or so up into the ranks, you know, there isn't that much opportunity in making those.
Yeah, I fully understand you. It's a professorship. Maybe you can make, of course, more money than ordinary teaching secondary school or high school, but still compare with some businessmen, engineers, doctors, architects,
Yeah.
Lawyers,
Yeah.
barristers.
Yeah,
You
but
know?
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, if you're putting in the efforts to studying, you know, if you're in
Yeah.
Ireland, you're getting the 500 mark or 600 mark points wise.
Mm-mm.
You know, that's not necessarily because of the course that you want to study. There's a few people that I know that go into studying something and they say, look, I have no clue what I want to do, but right now I have this on my application form, the CAO for university, because I know if I graduate with this and I don't like it, at least I can work for money with this. And in the future I could find what I like. So that's another way to look at it.
Yeah. So, how do you consider yourself? A careerist or idealist?
I'd say I'd be more lenient towards careerism simply because that's just what I'm studying for right now as an individual. But I've always said that if God has blessed me to become successful and you know, I'm doing well for myself, I'd always like to use that money to help somebody else out in need. And it wouldn't be careerism maybe just because of money. I just like the comfort of, you know, life, being able to buy a house, provide for my family, and have the luxury of going on holidays maybe 2-3 times a year. But if I have a lot of money, I'd say, and be successful, I'd like to share that with other people. And if there was ever an opportunity where I was to give all of that up, maybe the standard of living to drop from a notch down, and everybody were to be equal, I would most certainly do that. But in the world that we live today, that you're starting to ask yourself, starting to question yourself, is idealism really now a cohort of people that believe in something that can be achieved as a, you know, make a tangible change, or is that just a dream now, just a vision? Earlier on in the year we had the American Dream video, and you start asking yourself the similar question, is the idealist's dream still alive? I would most certainly like to contribute to it, but do you think, as an idealist yourself, that it's 100% possible to get everybody on the same board, whether some help out more and some less?
Yeah, I had the honor to meet some Irish businessman who I can say that he combined, which is not often seen in this materialistic world. He was introduced to a friend of mine. This man made successful business, and the first business he made, he sold it and he got 120 million, and he invested all in education in Africa. So, I mean, if you deep inside, if your idealism can be wrapped up with careerism, but if you're deep inside, your heart is it's idealistic heart, if you like, that can show up later in life when you're successful. But generally speaking, I'm not going to say anything negative towards rich people, but generally speaking, it's not very common practice among them to spend a lot of money for charity. Some they do, for a certain percentage, no doubt. And this man is really example of this charitable
donation,
heart and how I said careerism, which wrapped up this idealistic heart that he showed. He's more idealist in the end than careerist. It is possible, but again, this depends on the person and how much you're ready to give up. Because let's not forget, he made this 120 million working hard. It wasn't he won them in the lottery or he inherited. He worked hard for many years to make this money, make this company works. So, you know, it's a fantastic example for what you're asking, and that the question can be possible. Both they are, but I don't think everybody have the ability to be like this man.
I understand. Yeah, it's a great example. It's very relevant, adequate example. That's linked to what I was saying. Yeah. No, just an extra question that I just thought of now. Do you think that it's ever possible that you can have 100% of the population to strive towards idealism, or will there always be that cohort of people that will be devout careerists, that the money that they make is only for them and that they'll never contribute? Or do you think that it's possible, even to a small extent, to...
Well, yeah, but we go into the area of politics, because I think to try to make one society or one state, people of one state, to be more idealistic and go towards idealism more than careerism, money and materialism, it involves a lot of strategies, involve state attention, full, deep and wide state attention. And that should be continuous for many years. So you can educate people to, since a real age, to be more care about the community and the other people than themselves. But that's involved really. It is possible to maybe not made, but develop this way of thinking and the approach of life only with education, with advertising to not be selfish, and only this way maybe it's possible. Well, maybe not everybody can follow that, but if the state is involved for many years and goes to that directions, education and so on, advertising on the television and so on, yes, it is possible, most of the people, but again, in democracy, usually 4 to 5 years the governments change. A lot of times it's different parties with different views, different approach. I'm not saying that we should have dictatorship, but again, it's very tricky question, and implementing it will be hard, and it's very complicated and very, even in a way, sophisticated to imply this to most of the people. If you don't do these long strategies, policies, I think it's impossible. There will be always people who love money.
And that leads us on to the next question. Do you think that there is a downside to careerism?
There is a very dark side of careerism. I tell you a true story. I was studying for my English Cambridge exam, because it requires for my teaching in Ireland, you have to show, of course, that your English is in a good level of English. And I was studying after school in a English language school, and most of my classmates, they were from mainly Germany, but there were a few from Spain and Italy. They were working as au pairs. And they were working for, of course, for rich, successful families. And you know what struck me when they were telling me the stories of these families? Not personal stories, it's just in general. They of course didn't mention names or where they work and so on, but they said that after working 6 months with these families and look after the kids, the parents were so busy that when the child got sick, and they all share the same experience, they were telling me, the child will naturally run to the au pair, think of the mom or the dad. And I saw a very sad and very dark side of careerism. These people had houses with 10 bedrooms, 5, 6, 7, 10 bedrooms, expensive 2-3 cars front of the house, but there was something that they're never going to able to replace, because we know that there is few things we cannot buy in this world, and one of them is time. And they might be reaching 16 or 17 years of age, and maybe they want to spend more time to turn the time back, and maybe the kids to be 5 or 10 years of age. But no matter how much money they're going to offer, we know that they can't buy time. And that was a very dark side, I think. The parents and children grow up in the same house, but the distance was really huge, and the gap, this emotional and building relationship, was a huge gap. One house, but people
That's
so
that
far apart from each other.
That propinquity wasn't there. Yeah.
Mm.
So, why do you think people pursue careerism? Is it just simply because of power, or is it the money, or is it a culmination of both that incentivizes a lot of people to choose that sort of mindset, thinking, and obviously pursuing even something they don't like in order to achieve
I
one or
work
the
in
other?
the Ministry of Transport in the army when I was in the transport army as a sergeant. And I can tell you, careerism has as well one addiction there, and this addiction is very strong. People don't realize it until they start to consume the power.
Yeah, yeah.
I saw ministers, vice minister.
You saw it live, how they
Life,
progress. And
the joy of being in control, the joy of people being afraid of you.
yeah,
The joy to command, to give commands, to direct everybody. Everybody was kind of afraid of them. Also, of course, they make money, but the power is something that I see in Bulgaria. Here, it's very hard. Once you taste it, it's very hard to give it up. You do anything to be in power again.
And let me ask you this question. Would you, obviously as a soldier or working into the Ministry of Transport, have you ever seen maybe a politician, or not even linked, just somebody that from one position, maybe throughout your few years of working there, gradually moved up, and the way that they acted also changed by the position?
Yeah. Unfortunately, most of the people with power who become junior ministers or ministers, or if you like, generals in the army, or even bosses of the departments in the ministry, most of them become arrogant. They were looking people down. Slowly but surely, this process with most of them, it was visible.
So a person 2 years ago that would have greeted you and asked, "How are you?" 2 years later, after they achieved that promotion, they'd walk straight past you.
I tell you, now occurred in my mind one case that I won't mention the name, but he was a junior minister in the Ministry of Transport, extremely arrogant. He never saluted the security, never even looked at us. He looked at, for him, we were piece of rubbish, plebs, rubbish that you should just have to pass by, even don't look at it. And when this government was gone, he came to in the car park to park his car, and I plead to me, "Please, I know a place to park, you know me." And I said, "Yeah." I wasn't very, excited to see him because he was so arrogant towards us and so ignorant. And he was as soft as fresh bread. The power changed him. He started to giving out, even though I never went near to this topic about politics. He started to give out about the new government with really anger, with disgust. He was disgusted with the new government. Of course, he lost the power. And I saw how, not only how they went up and how they changed, but I saw when they went down, the masks fall off. And you see the vulnerable guy, a nice guy, he become a softy, if you like, towards you. And it was completely different when I was in power. So I experienced
the rise and the downfall, even of that one politician or whoever it was.
Few of them, but just appear in my mind. Occurs in my mind in this case, and I remember he was extremely friendly on the car park. And I never experienced 2.5 years when he was a junior minister. Never ever.
There you go.
It's. But this addiction, you can see down for craving for power. He couldn't believe he's not in his office. He's not in charge. He doesn't make this money. He's not overpower the people and have power over people. And I tell you, it's like maybe mentally or psychologically, it's maybe not the same like drugs, but it's a different. It's different addiction, but it's in some ways they're so similar.
And do you think that even people with strong morals that typically don't even chase power are still susceptible to such a gross and abhorrent mindset, that they can fall into the trap of maybe once they move up, they've been humble maybe 10, 15 years, let's say, and they move up and one day they say, well, you know what, I'm here, they're there. Do you think that even a person with strong morals is capable of falling to that so-called temptation?
It is. That's why.
Because it's a temptation.
One Bulgarian poet said that life is a struggle. And a lot of times these struggles, now in this Holy Week, for us the Christians, it's a struggle against your weaknesses. And even man with strong morality, a woman, if you don't remind yourself every day that you're mortal, that you should live only, if you have this moral code and ethics, that you should not live only for yourself. You have to constantly remind of yourself, and especially when you become in power, when you have authorities, you have to self-control morally your actions and remind yourself every single day, I'm mortal. As the emperor was entering Rome in the triumph, there was behind him a man, they saluted him 1 million of people, the victorious general or consul in case of Rome. But once was whispering in his ear, Memento Mori, don't forget you're mortal. And that's what we have to when you become powerful in charge. The voice, allow this voice every day to remind you that you're mortal.
Exactly.
And from where you started. Don't forget from where you started.
From where you I think you couldn't have said it any better.
Thank you. So, what do you think it's success? Careerism we're talking about. It's linked with education. How strong, if there is a link, how strong is this link, you think?
Now, I think education, when you touch on it, the big question is secondary school and more so university. Is it worth going to university? Is it worth focusing in school? Now, through friends, through acquaintances, through lots of other people, they said, oh, my whatever, uncle or my friends this or that, skipped school, wasn't great, or they were great in school, but they just hated being in that environment, and they found their own way to making money. Now, I think, fair enough, they went through, but there was also stories where the person hated attending school, done well simply to show respect to his or her parents, graduated, went to university, didn't like it, but later on, even we had a guest, Dylan Connors, about...
professor.
Yes.
The youngest professor in the history of United States.
Even he himself stated that he didn't plan to. Once he graduated with the bachelor's from UCD, he said, I had no ambition, no intention on going on, I didn't like it. But then throughout that environment, he found an aspect of geography which is linked to human geography and the demographics and the population changes and how that's linked with history and the reason behind. But my point is, he found something interesting because he was in that environment. He found it in his third year in university. But the question in that example was, what if he never attended?
That's true. That's true.
So I feel like attending university and trying to do well in school not only is respectful to your parents because they've put so much effort into educating you, so much effort into building in that discipline, and I think your discipline is even more developed when you don't like going to school because you're constantly, incessantly doing something you do not like doing, waking up early, going into an environment you don't like, doing the work that you despise. And let's not forget, the majority of the well-paid jobs is obtained from a college degree. You can say, look, I want to go into a trades, but nowadays you still have to go to university.
But in the context of what you said, you make a little research, or you read it somewhere, I didn't ask you where, but anyway, from a very reliable source, that in the context of what you're saying, going to school, discipline yourself, that when you get out from your comfort zone, your brain trains more.
Yes, I forget the specific part of the brain.
But it's if you getting more often outside of your comfort zone, whatever might be, sports, we spoke with the sportsman, great sportsmen here, with academic, guys from the high and most respected universities, no matter what may be, but if you get out from your comfort zone more often, your brain is more prepared for more challenges and difficulties.
And scientists are even researching now. I forgot that specific part of the brain. It's a very small part that grows bit by bit the more consistently you do things that you do not like. And now there's even a controversial statement that they're making and putting research now. It's not true. It might be completely false. But out of the studies that they've done upon people, they're starting to ask themselves the question, is that part of the brain responsible for not giving up on living? It's because they noticed that the people with an enlarged, I keep forgetting the name, it's really annoying right now, that you brought it up and I don't know. The people with this larger part of the brain that's developed through doing things that they don't like actually lived longer than the people that had a smaller part and lived a life of comfort. Now that's still being studied. It could be disproved completely in 10 years' time. But it was just something interesting.
Very interesting. And you know, talking about education and business, sometimes in Bulgaria it's saying, be nice to the weak student because he might need a job one day and he'll give you the job.
Exactly.
So it's all meant, I tell you one story, true story of your mom's classmate.
Yes, of course.
He was very weak student, extremely weak student, barely passed any exam, maths, whatever exams subject they were. And his year head said to him, you know what, I forgot his name, but he said to him, you'll be a garbage man. You're just so weak student, nothing else is for you. You pulling beans and you know, you will be a garbage man. That's your future. I tell you, the teacher should have not told him like that, you know, because to told him that because it's very degrading. Even though the student is weak, it's not professional. But anyway, she was keep on telling him, you will be a garbage man. You're so useless. And you know what? The years pass, and just a few years ago they reunion with the class.
10 or 15
and they said, no, a few years ago, your mom told me they reunion every year. That particular year, the restaurant was paid by one of the classmates. They said, you don't have to pay. I said, who paid? It doesn't matter. It's paid. That guy hired dancers. Dancers. He bought huge bunch of flowers for every single girl because it was mixed class, boys and girls, and everything was paid. And of course, the year head was
curious.
She was invited. And I think she's retired now. And he went to her and said, "Yes, Miss, you were right. I become a garbage man. I have my own company in London. He emigrated a few years ago, and now 100 people working for him. And he was and it's a true story, you know. So sometimes I think it is important for success, and how you said, of course, you can become professor or even study business or law. I think you have to. And business will give you some perspectives. You learn about how business works. It is important, but sometimes it's the guys who they didn't like school. They become a very successful businessman. They have this intuition and it's a smartness to become rich.
But that raises the question: how many people have that? You know, how many you see, because they're part of the top 1%. You know, they're making the big money. They found that business, that opportunity. They develop themselves. But they're above average. That trait, that skill that they've been born with, you can't teach that. You can't. Even a few months back, do you remember my mother's clients came in and he said, "Oh, why don't you do this with your business and this and this?" He came in and in the span of 30 seconds, he provided 5 or 10 really good, profitable ideas. And I think the ability to walk in, you're meeting a person for the first time, they met with my mother for the first time, and he's the client. He's there. But why don't you do this in the aspect, in a sector, in a field that his businesses aren't revolved around?
But straight away he had an idea how to make more success, vision, how to develop this business. So I don't think you can learn that.
You can't.
You have it or you don't have it.
Exactly. And that's, now it's controversial obviously, because nowadays on social media you have a lot of people, "Oh, school's never for me, don't worry, I'm going to become a millionaire." But, you know, how are you going to become a millionaire? Are you going to work? Because you're going to have to work regardless. In fact, you might even have to work more than if you're in university, and you're going to have to sacrifice more.
Yeah.
But it's about, do you have a path? Do you have a plan? Because that's what university gives you. It gives you some sort of direction in life towards. You have lots of people.
Yeah.
Even RGP, you know, he studied. He didn't know what to do, and so he studied a bunch of stuff. And by the age of 30, he realized, okay, I like medicine. I'm going to study medicine.
He's very good doctor, I have to say. He's excellent.
Exactly, but that he had the ability to choose from previous endeavors, academic. You know, he didn't have the stress of, oh, I have no money. Let's just say, not even in him, but in general. Once you have a degree, you will always be able to find a job. And I think that ability to be secure, to not worry, to not stress, you know, a degree isn't going to stop you from opening up a business.
No.
So I think it's safer to have a degree and devote maybe 3-4 years of your life. You can still work. Let's say it's 8 to 10 hours a day some days. You can still work.
And any knowledge, when I teach my students, any knowledge can be useful if you're smart enough to use it in a context.
Yeah.
Like in classics we study, you know, the Homer, Virgil, and so on. Even if you don't remember all the books and all the happenings in these books, in any questions, the knowledge you have, if you're smart enough, you can use and will be your leverage this information.
Yeah.
So I think in business as well. For example, if you're a businessman
To network.
and you have degree in history, if you meet somebody from somewhere and if you know about this culture, one of the ways I building bridges with people is when I know them cultural background, about them religion, and they're impressed. And once they see you know so much about them, that you were interested in them culture, showing huge respect
about it,
this ice is melted quick between the two. I tell you one businessman in Bulgaria, he was late, that's a true story. He was part of the team of Cuckoo. They don't exist anymore, but it's an entertainment program. They were very successful, but suddenly, but slowly they faded away, their fame and all. And he turned to what he wants to do always, business. And he had a meeting with two very rich ladies to make a deal with them, but he was late. And they said, why you're late, that's not nice. They were really kind of... in a way, in a positive way, they were kind of even disappointed and frustrated. And he said, "Well, look," and he knows, William was my said, I helped with my wife, and I had to put the washings, and she asked me, and I didn't realize what time was it. And he said, everything changed. They said, "Oh, you're a great man. You're helping your wife." Like in Bulgaria, not many men doing it. Excellent. They instantly forget about that he was late. And another case, he was joking with businessman, he was late as well. He didn't know in this case, but he said, where you have been, you're late 15 minutes. He said, I was in the Death Star with Darth Vader. And I accidentally, this man turned to be a big fan of Star Wars. And then everything went smoothly. So you can use your knowledge for everything.
It's just when that question gets asked, it's either no university and you have to make the money yourself, or it's just pursuing your. You can always do both. I've always thought you can do both. You can go to university, work a part-time job, and if you really believe in an initiative of yours, whether it's a careeristic one or an idealistic one to helping out other people, you have a lot of free time to work towards it. And that's where discipline is, when you're tired to do something.
Exactly. Going back to your question, that it was one of my poems. That's why I consider myself, maybe that's a kind of clearly say who I am about the poem. You know this part. You said,
yes.
You
better be a spark in the dark rather than just be part of it. Which is a great thought.
That's kind of shortly but truly and describe myself.
I agree. No, it's an idiom that has been thrown around now over the past few months because you remembered it and then you started. I think you read it. You had found the poem and you'd read it. Or the thought came up.
I read that poem.
Yeah,
I wrote that poem.
Yeah, you wrote it. Yeah,
but it's come up in my mind. I forgot about it, and
And now in the past year, did you read it somewhere? Did you remember it?
Yeah, I just remember it. I don't know how it came up. To be honest with you, I lost the poem. I have to find it where it is. But I remember clearly that part, and maybe described it very well.
Yeah, and even that statement there, that line from your poem, it links to the next question. Is there a moral aspect to careerism? Is it all bad? Is it all good? Is there an in-between?
Again, I was saying earlier that it's very important to remind yourself from where you started. Where was your beginning? And also to have this voice, allow this voice to tell you every day, don't forget you're mortal. And that you're not the center of the universe. No matter how successful you're in life, in politics or in business. Because what you're going to leave behind. That's my view of things. I mean, if you live life that's only for yourself, I don't know, for me it will be a wasted life. So definitely careerism and morals, they can go together, but it's a battle. Life is a battle. So if you remind yourself all the time and keep these moral standards you had or you develop over the years and ethics, altruist in English it's
altruism.
You have this altruism. Yes, you can, but generally speaking, it's a test. The power, and because careerism, it's like. You witness so many times in different professions. I saw it in the ministry, I saw it in army.
Yeah.
I saw it in the health service, if you like, where I worked many years. You see some people will do dirty tricks, if you like.
Yeah.
They will talk behind the people, we create stories or whatever, only for one goal and one aim, to become boss or to become a supervisor or manager.
Look better.
Look better and make faster career. That's not to me. It's not maybe it's a cliche, but this is not moral life. And I really despise and distaste this kind of behavior and acting towards life and so this kind of philosophy. But it is possible. It is possible if you maintain your morals, maintain your ethics, and altruism. It is possible. But it's a test. Life is test.
It is.
When you are careerist on the way up to the top, this man behind you should be this voice always. And saying momentum more.
Okay. That's so it is possible. That's
it is possible. It is possible if you want to maintain your morals and ethics. And kind of it's like a flower. If you don't water it in the daily basis or very often, it dies. And with the careerism, this flower, and if you don't hold it water in your morals, it will die, and you'll become a brutal businessman or politician who cares only about himself.
And that's the temptation always. It's
a battle.
When you're at the top.
It's temptation. It's temptation. Power when you become powerful and. With your careerism, it's nothing wrong to you want to be successful, whatever.
I think it's more so about what you do to get to where you are rather than where you actually are. Because you can have two people in the same position, person A, person B, same pay, but, and even if it took them the same amount of time, what did person A do to achieve that position? What did person B do to achieve that position? Was there an opportunity where person A was maybe the more benevolent person, the person that acted morally correct, we'll say, and he achieved that promotion in 5 years, while person B achieved it in 5 years, but with shortcuts through, as you call it, dirty tricks, as spreading rumors. And is person A, did it only take him 5 years, or could it have taken him 3? Or did he follow the correct path? And is it always possible to follow the correct path? Because let's say you're in the workplace where the environment, everybody's like that. Out of 100 people, excluding yourself, 99 of your co-workers are the exact same. They all want to, maybe screw over somebody else to look better. And is it possible to look at yourself in the mirror and say, look, everybody else is like that in this environment, and I want to, develop myself in this environment. Is this a prerequisite? Is this something that I have to do? That's necessitated for me to go.
Yeah, Bukowski, I read Bukowski now and I learn a lot about him, and he really wanted to be on his own, and he said when I'm in my own, something similar, he said that he learned about himself in this case as well. Okay, if you want to turn back in 5 years and say, well, it could have taken 3, but I maintain my morals.
Yeah.
You have to really look yourself and say, what do I want to be? A careerist that will use dirty tricks.
That's unscrupulous, yeah.
Unscrupulous, and like most of the people in this career, in this company or whatever it might be, or a
sector,
or a law company or whatever, or a business corporation. In the end of the day, and now in Easter we're saying that one day the ones who believe will face the Creator. And what are you going to answer the question?
Yeah.
If you are atheist as well, I know a lot of atheists that have a very good morality and ethics and fantastic people, and they maintaining it. They haven't lost it. But how you said is again, you're talking about temptation, because you see these 100 people, how you said, all wanted to do well and as fast as possible, and they're unscrupulous. And but do you have to ask yourself, do I want to be like them?
Yeah.
Would I like myself if I'm like them? Make fast career, but use dirty tricks, about mouth to the other people, really creative on stories for only one goal, to go on the top. And don't forget, sometimes I work in army, health service now for a few years in the educational system. I met a lot of people, and some people you have to be sometimes strict, and because if you're a manager or a director or whatever, you might be general, you have to be strict with the people. But I noticed one thing, that usually you're betrayed with people who smiles.
Yeah.
If somebody become extra nice to me, I start to worry. And most of the time, 99% of the cases, they did something not nice to me.
Yeah.
Behind my back. And in this Holy Week, let's not forget, Jesus was betrayed by a kiss.
Yeah.
So not always, we should not forget that you're strict and maybe crude in a way looking boss, not always mean that he has a bad heart.
Yeah.
Maybe he wants to do his job well and everybody to be in line. But from this kind of strict people, I have seen that they were with fantastic good hearts.
Yeah.
Stone face, but huge hearts. The ones who smile, who are extra nice to you.
Yeah.
You have to be aware of. So that's the last question. We will be wrapping up the episode.
Yeah.
It's towards you. How do you see yourself in 10 years?
In 10 years, hopefully I've done well enough in my leaving cert to get into university. Graduated by then. But 10 years, I'm 17 now, I'd be 27. Hopefully, if my interests stay the same, which I think they will, then I have law school, and then I have 1 year practicing as a lawyer. Hopefully I'm 2-3 years into the career by then. Yeah, hopefully I've moved out, but you never know with the Irish economy. So hopefully by then I've moved out, have my own place. And you know what? I'd say even married. I'd like to marry before the age of 30. I'd like to have at least one child before the age of 30. Not rush it, but to be at the peak of my youth so I can show my children, my family, as much energy. I think that's why I'd like to work something where, they're long hours, but the pay's good, but the holidays are good, so I can have time for family as well.
Yeah.
So 10 years, hopefully I'm in a profession that I like for 2-3 years as a lawyer. Moved out, hopefully I've started paying mortgage or paid off my place by then, and possibly even a wife, you never know.
Yeah, I wish you all the best. I wish, as my son and every young man and a woman to succeed in their dream.
Yeah.
I hope it will come true, and I see it. I got the blessing. With this question is the end of our podcast today. Thank you very much for your always honest and nice answers and interesting answers. I just want to say that next podcast we have a very interesting guest. I won't reveal more. So
just be ready.
Be ready, yeah.
Be ready.
And generally speaking, we will start to kind of change a bit the format of our podcast. I will ask all of you, the viewers, to throw questions there. We will tell in advance what topic will be. So please, when we announce it, throw your question in the comments, and then we try to ask our guests, or we will discuss and answer these questions you're interested to know the answers.
Well, we obviously are well aware that we don't have 10,000 viewers each episode, so the input
not yet.
Might not be as big as obviously the traditional podcast, but I think it's an interesting way to get you guys involved as well. Even if it's one comment, I think why not? If it's a question that you want to be answered, keep it anonymous about the future topics. I think that would be a great way to get everybody
even
involved.
For our next episode, you can. It's a guest. So ask any questions you want to ask, and just write it down on the comment.
Yeah.
And we'll try to fit in this question or questions and ask our very interesting guest.
And we'll mention if it's a question from the comments. So
exactly. So
yeah, that's it. That concludes your episode for today. So thank you very much for staying until the very end if you have. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like button, and the notification bell. And we'll catch you in the next one.